Hey everyone, just a quick disclaimer before we start the episode. There are going to be heavy spoilers for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. If you haven't seen it yet and are wary of spoilers, you might want to skip this one. But if you're cool with it, then without further ado, we just defeated Donkey Kong. Now let's sit by the fire flower and have a chat. With me, I have Brad, the Baron of Bullet Bills.
Hello, everybody. I've been waiting 24 years for this movie, and I'm very excited to talk about what we just witnessed.
Gerardo, the Guildmaster of Goombas.
Greetings.
And Teresa, the Dame of Dry Bones.
Oh, hello. It's so wonderful to be back.
And me, I am Hunter, and I am also here. So we all saw the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Okay, so I'm going to start it off in terms of the video game movie adapting the original source material. It's a near perfect movie when it comes to video game movies. Obviously, there's a different bracket for movies, like in general, but for video game movies, fantastic. I'm sure people agree with me on this one.
Yes, I think for a Mario fan, this movie is pretty solid overall.
I would say this movie is pretty super. It did all the right things, I think. Like it's a very safe movie overall. It's a kids movie at the end of the day.
It is
But
kind
I
of
had
like your
fun.
bog standard like Mario fare, like when it comes down to it.
How
Yeah.
I would compare it is it more of a kids movie than Sonic was?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you sure? Because some of the
Mhm. I
haven't
jokes in
seen
the
the
Sonic
Sonic
movie
movie.
do not land unless you're a kid.
I don't know. I don't know if this is really relevant, but I remember saying the Sonic movie had a little bit more substance, to me at least, than the Mario movie. But I enjoyed the Mario movie far more.
That's true. The story it's very much a Mario story.
As far as what Rotten Tomato apparently thinks, overall, I think that a lot of critics don't really think of it as like a solid movie by itself because, it's your pretty standard fare as far as like hero's journey and stuff goes. So actually, the tomato meter is like 50%. It's like 57, I think, right now.
That's so absolutely ridiculous. Even
But
if I was to take this movie in terms of like the worst it could be, a
Mhm.
50?
yeah, it's
Nah.
pretty low. I might not disagree as far as like just pure like if it wasn't a Mario thing, but everything else was the same. But the audience score was 96. And I think that you kind of see the difference between your casual like movie, cinema, film lover and in it being like, a pretty basic kids movie. And the fans and the kids and stuff that went and like noticing all of the little things. It's such a it was like such a labor of love in that regard. So I think that those scores start to make sense like the more you think about it.
Yeah, those critics just need to ingest a little bit more popular culture because I don't know who is
They gotta play some
in
more.
some way, shape or form understand Mario.
They gotta stomp on some more Goombas. Anyways, no, I loved it. I loved all
Yeah.
of the little things about it. Just as we were watching, like I just know I was mainly sitting next to Brad, your fiance, and my girlfriend. So like just turning to them and talking about the references, and then talking about the references that your fiance like referenced and stuff like that. Like while we were watching it, was pretty fun. I wish I was sitting next to you guys because you guys are way bigger Mario fans than I am.
And going into at least our viewing with our group of friends here, this was my second viewing. And I plan
Right.
on watching this movie again in theaters at least a couple more times. So even going in second time around, this movie has so much little references, big references, small references, just all around. Again, labor of love. That going in a second time, I was able to see a lot more, even that I missed the first time. I'll have to look through exactly what it is that I saw on my third viewing because it's gonna compartmentalize and I'll actually be able to remember everything because I was having so much fun.
Yeah, same. I had to, when we went to go see this movie together, that was my second time seeing it. I didn't particularly pick up on more things than I did the first time, but yeah, I was kind of, trying to at least pay attention a little bit more to the backgrounds and stuff. And I
Well,
noticed a couple things, I suppose.
well, one of the things that you point out to me was some of the smash moves that look like that's what's happening on screen with like DK slapping Mario in the head. That's like the forward smash and
Oh.
smash. Like that was something that you pointed out, Teresa, to me,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize. Like, oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And you pointed out Mario's forward air in the Everything We Know About video.
Yeah,
And
and
it was
it looks similar.
it was funny. I was talking to I had a meeting the day afterwards with my coworkers, and I was like kind of gushing about the movie for a little bit because I know that a few of the others had just seen it too, including my producer. And a lot of them seemed super unimpressed by my knowledge of that forward air thing that you told me about.
It's not meant for the casuals, Hunter.
Clearly not.
But I mean, outside of just like Smash references, the whole movie was strewn about with references to the Mario universe. One of which was like there was one situation during the Rainbow Road part where they jumped courses in order to get onto another part. And
Yeah.
I know other people knew this or saw that from Mario, remember that from Mario Kart 64.
Yeah.
So back me
But
up.
that's
This
been
one.
in a
You
few-
caught
that's-
that, right?
No, I caught that.
Yeah, I
That's
caught
been in
that
a
too.
few Rainbow Roads over the years, right? In a few games. I remember in 8, there's a few parts where you can kind of jump off too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, a few parts.
And just like regarding Mario Kart 8, like just the part where, because the whole gimmick behind Mario Kart 8 is that it's like 8, like the symbol 8 looks like an infinity, and like it looks like it's like looping around, and so you can like kind of change, like move your tires during certain parts that are kind of looping around and like defying gravity, and then
Yeah.
you're like floating, like hovering kind of. And then that happened to Peaches, and I think maybe a few other people's carts as well. Like their tires changed to like they like rotated 90 degrees and then became like hover pads.
That whole sequence was awesome.
And then like even Peach, like she drifts at one point, and then you see the blue sparks around her, and then she gets the speed boost.
So
Mhm.
Mario,
Just like
there's
the
a
game.
whole there's a whole sequence with Mario running away from the blue shell, which now we know why the blue shell was there to begin with, was specifically for the end of that little gag where the blue shell blows up the leaders.
Yeah.
But when he was trying to run away from him, he was doing it through boost to get out of his like claws.
And then I think Gerardo, you mentioned, because I never watched the Super Mario TV show. I think I have seen like a few episodes when I was like a little kid, but I don't have as much familiarity with it. And you pointed out to me some stuff.
Not just the TV show. There was also this animated Mario movie in the 80s, and I think both of those things got some love from this movie. Probably the TV show for the most part. Specifically, I think one of the most controversial things in the movie was the fact that they used a lot of like real world music for segments of the movie, like action sequences specifically. That was a thing with the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Every episode of the show during the animated portion of the show would have usually one live action song. Back then it was usually a cover of a popular song, but I remember specifically one episode did have like a cover of Thriller, for example. I don't know for sure if that was a specific reference to that, but just the similarity, regardless, feels like a callback to it from someone who watched the show. I've seen every episode of it.
Mhm.
Every episode.
Yes.
You watched every episode of the Super Mario the Super Show?
Yes, I binge watched it a few years ago. I actually really enjoyed it for the most part. There were some episodes that were kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like there's this one episode where the whole episode, all the characters are rapping all of their dialogue for the entire episode. And that was just like,
I need to watch this show.
this is the most 90s thing like ever.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, I mean, speaking of rapping, they actually did put the intro into the movie, and it's not just
Oh
like a
yeah,
commercial that they threw in there. It was like straight up the opening shot.
I
that's
really
true.
liked that. Yeah.
And they had released that as like the trailer initially, but yeah, that was something that I was specifically hoping for when they announced this movie, that they would call back to the Super Show, and especially that song, because I
They
actually
did.
like the song. I think it's a good song.
It's not the only rap song in the movie.
The
DK rap is in there
DK
too.
rap.
It's just like the first verse though. Not
Yeah,
even the verse,
but
but just DK.
it's
I
it's
wish they
good
did
enough.
more of it.
Yeah.
The DK crew
Um,
was there though.
In
I
the
just wanted-
background, they're clapping and stuff. Yeah.
I
Well,
just
they were
wanted to-
specifically called out, or at least Diddy was.
Yeah, and then Dixie and I don't remember his name. The other Kong.
All of the Kongs were there, I think.
Yeah.
Even
Well-
some that weren't from that original like Donkey Kong Country's game, the ones that were like in that rap, they reference like other Kongs that appear like later throughout the franchise. Also, like they kind of appear.
the Mario like series started in the 80s.
Mhm.
And a lot of the music used, the licensed music used, was from the 80s, except one song.
Like the Beastie Boys and stuff.
Yeah, the Beastie Boys, that one, the
Oh.
Holding Out for a Hero, Take on Me. Thunderstruck is the only one from the 90s, but literally all of the other ones are from the 80s. So I think that's also like just a reference to Mario's like quote
History.
unquote birth year.
Yeah, birth
Yeah.
decade.
And Gerardo, you were talking about how some of the characters, because one of the main complaints that I have, which I can get into later, was the portrayal of Peach's character. But that's actually super accurate to the way that they were on the show too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one way that I felt like the movie felt more like the classic show than like the games because of that. Especially like in the show is about Mario, Peach, Toad, and Luigi going on adventures. And we see a similar setup in the movie where for the most part it's Mario, Toad, and Peach throughout the movie. But I'm sure when they make a second one, Luigi will have more of a presence in it.
I really hope so, because I think
Yeah.
he kind of got shafted a little bit in this one.
Yeah, so because the show is based mostly on Super Mario Bros. 2, where all four of those characters are playable. And
Yeah.
the way the characters' personalities are represented, like obviously they can fight, you know, like Peach isn't a damsel in distress in that show.
I like that each of the characters, at least in the movie, did have a chance to shine to some respect. Like, yeah, Luigi was shafted for the most of the part, but he was there at the end, like helping out Mario, and even Toad did some things. Even though I do think Toad kind of was more of a hindrance for Peach. It was nice to see that he was like there and trying.
I liked how each of those characters' moments to shine were reminiscent of like what they're kind of known for. So Toad is kind of known for whatever, I guess. I don't know if like chef or cooking Toad. I guess Chef Toad, come to think of it, in the
Yeah.
Super Nintendo world.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really know if Toad specifically is known for anything that appeared in the movie. Like the only thing that I would think of is like Captain Toad, but I don't think that was meant to be Captain Toad. I think that was meant to be like Toad from the Super Mario TV show.
Yeah.
But like you say, like Luigi didn't have a whole lot to shine. Luigi didn't have too many chances to shine, and I agree. But what was there was Luigi being very true to character. It was like Luigi being scared, and then Luigi's like really big scene was like him being scared, running away from a bunch of dry bones, which is like clearly meant to be like the Luigi's Mansion, like kind of reference.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
even him walking around and like my brother like kind of rolled his eyes because he's like, I knew it when he's going around Mario and like calling out. I'm like, yeah, you're hitting me right where the feels hit. I'm like, yes, nostalgic.
They pressed the A button.
He pressed the A button.
And speaking of the voices and the TV show, there's the woman in the the commercial that thanks them for their service,
Yeah.
and that voice actress who plays that person is Peach's original voice actress from the
The
Super
TV show. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ooh.
I didn't know that until now.
Yeah.
That-
And like Charles Martinet, like I liked how even I haven't delved too deep into the amount of like voice cameos that they did, because they mainly got a bunch of like really popular Hollywood talent to
Yeah.
voice the main characters. But I still appreciated how they tried to fit in the old, like a lot of the older voice cast where they could. So like Charles Martinet doing like Mario's dad, which for some reason feels kind of appropriate, like a passing down of the torch in the same way that like a father is with their genes in a way, and like their family name and whatever else. So like Charles Martinet was Mario's dad. I thought that was super cool, and also did apparently
Yeah.
some rando in the arcade.
Oh yeah, that
they-
was supposed to be OG Mario. That's kind of how he looks on the Donkey Kong arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
So Charles
I
Martinet,
appreciate the Wahoo.
Charles
yeah.
Martinet actually, because that character is named, and let me try to look it up actually really quick. It's Giuseppe.
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 Huh.
Giuseppe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a reference or not, but
I don't
the,
even
No.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
person
it's
in the
an
arcade
Italian
is
reference.
Giuseppe. Yeah, fair enough.
It's an Italy
It's,
reference.
it's an Italian reference, that's for
It's a
sure.
cultural one, yeah.
Yeah, but also I think he was playing a Jumpman arcade cabinet.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
was
was
he?
right next to him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I noticed that Mario was playing Kid Icarus. That's
Yeah,
cute.
that was fun.
There's a lot of like just like
Yeah.
little tiny like references to like other games, like mainly Mario games, but like other games that have appeared throughout the course of Mario history, which I think is cool.
Yeah, like the pizzeria was called Punch Out Pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a there was a balloon fight like logo somewhere for part of the city.
Oh.
It seemed like
Yeah.
the city had like a lot of old games references.
And
It-
Spike, who was like their plumber rival, was an enemy from Wrecking Crew, I guess.
Yeah, he's the foreman of their construction site. And in
Okay.
Wrecking Crew, he shows up between levels to it's like a bonus round where you try to get a bunch of points, and he tries to stop you. He tries to get you before you get the points.
I noticed, like, also still in New York, I'm assuming, New Donk City. I don't know, because Pauline is there. It's like New
Yeah,
Donk
yeah.
City?
She was the
question
mayor.
mark?
Yeah.
New
it's-
York.
It's Brooklyn.
Same thing.
It's Brooklyn.
I know it's for
it's-
sure Brooklyn.
It's
But,
supposed to be New York, but they're taking liberties, and it's cool that Pauline's there.
But I noticed that they never said New York.
Well,
So-
I mean, they say the Bronx. Say
Yeah, they
Brooklyn.
say like areas
Yeah.
in New York, like Brooklyn and stuff. And there's like that Beastie Boys song, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. But like I noticed that they never said New York. So that's what made me think like, is it New Donk City? Is New York New Donk City? Is that like it's just instead of New York, it's New Donk? Like that's what it is. Anyways. But I also noticed in New whatever city this is, when Mario was like first running to like their job because their car broke down, I noticed that like he never once stopped the whole like run cycle, because that was meant to be like a platforming level, which made me think it was Super Mario Run. I don't know if it was specifically Super Mario Run, but the levels seemed pretty small, like they do in Super Mario Run, like not super vertical, if that makes sense. And he never stops running like you do in like in most platformers. You take a second, you know.
I think the only time he does is when he's opening a door for Luigi to get through,
Right.
which
yeah.
I thought was cute, and I enjoyed that. That's an overarching thing actually with the entire movie, is that like, yeah, nobody really gets all that much character development, and like, yeah, there's like plot points that like they touch on and then they just like drop like a sack of bricks. But the one thing that they don't drop is that they do kind of like tug on your heartstrings with the whole brother aspect between Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
And that is something that
Oh, yeah.
sticks around throughout the movie. It could have been leaned in a little bit more, in my opinion, but it does
Maybe.
stick around for the whole thing.
I thought it was very cute and wholesome.
And you know, when they're running through that first part, you know, it looks like World 1-1, at least like the first 10 seconds of it.
Oh,
The way that it's laid out, you know.
And World 1-2, which is
And
what
World 1-2
follows it, is referenced later when they're in the underground like pipe
Yeah.
portion of
oh,
New York.
that's so true. How did I
Yeah,
not
there's
catch that?
There's a
That's
sign
World
that's-
1-1 and then World 1-2 right afterwards.
Oh, that's so cool.
And World 1 2 is underground in the pipes. Sorry, go ahead. Keep talking.
It was
Yeah, I was gonna say that exactly. It's
Yeah.
like when you can see a sign
Yeah.
when they're going downstairs. I guess
Mhm.
I think the camera pans in another way, and there's a green sign that says level 1 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're
And you can
entering
hear that
World
music
1
too.
2.
Uh huh.
Can we speak about Jack Black's Bowser?
Yeah.
I think he did a fantastic job. And I knew he was going to do a fantastic job just from the trailers, but wow.
I think
yes.
he did the best job out of everybody, and
Yes,
he knows that he did because he really wanted to play Bowser. I think you could tell that he was probably the most excited with his role out of anybody.
During the red carpet premiere, he showed up with a custom suit. He like had like a custom suit made that had little like turtle tiles on its back that were like
Oh, that's so cool.
themed like Bowser, which
That's
is
so
super
cool.
fun. That's fun.
That reminds me of
It-
something I forgot to mention earlier. His characterization of Bowser was like pretty unexpected, especially in the scenes where he's speaking to Peach, is very similar to that 80s Mario movie where Bowser is very shy in front of Peach in that movie.
Hmm.
I wonder if Jack Black thought of that idea, or if the scriptwriter thought of that idea, or if like they were inspired by that movie. But yeah,
That's a weird sentence to say, inspired by the 1980s Mario movie.
yeah, the animated one, not the live action one.
Oh, okay.
The one
Okay.
no one knows about. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you for clarifying. Because
Yes.
I-
Just
I
to
don't- I
be
was like, I don't-
specific, just to be specific, that one is called The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach. Just to be
Okay.
specific.
I don't know
Okay.
if I knew that existed actually.
I
Yeah, no one
didn't-
does.
I didn't.
But it's
I'm a
pretty
big
decent.
Mario guy, but I didn't.
It's pretty decent. If you like Mario, I recommend giving it a watch. It's like a Mario anime shonen. It's a fun adventure film, I would say. Another thing about that I found, it's hard to say if it's a coincidence because it's shockingly similar in my opinion, is when in both the animated 80s film and this new movie, when Mario goes through the warp pipe for the first time, there is a sequence where Mario and Luigi are flying through this kind of like interdimensional void between warp pipes in like a current kind
Mhm.
of. Both of those movies have a scene like that. And
Hmm.
so that's another reason why I feel like the writers, the creators, whoever might have seen this movie and been slightly inspired by that. And that's just me coming up with theories based on, having watched these movies. Another thing is that original movie also has some things like showing Mario playing an NES. But that one I could write that off as a coincidence. And another one is just the fact that like in the dynamic between Mario and his brother Luigi is like carrying all the equipment for Mario, which is like a subtle thing that I find kind of funny, but like as like the little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does it in a way that looks like Luigi's Mansion, which
Oh yeah,
That's what
Because
I
the
was thinking
plungers
when I
in
saw
there-
that.
that's true. But that one I can also write off as a coincidence. Mainly the warp pipe thing, I feel like is pretty specific.
Something that I also noticed was when Mario was first training, like when Princess Peach is like showing him the ropes kind of, and him like becoming Mario, him becoming good at platforming. Which
yeah.
is weird because he like already was, like I mentioned that Mario Run reference, but I guess
Yeah. It
getting
is a
used to the
little-
mushroom, like getting used to the Mushroom Kingdom's rules, I guess, if that's what they
Yeah.
were going for.
And
was-
story-wise, I think it is a little weird to have to show him as being competent in his like parkouring, platforming, but then have to like seem as though he didn't understand it. But
there's a
again,
lot of
it is a
those.
different like rule set that he has to abide by, but it is a little weird.
There's a few of those, and I'll talk about one regarding Cranky Kong and his son later. but where like the expectation was set for one thing, and then like literally
drop it.
180 later. But anyways, for better or for worse, when Princess Peach is like teaching him the ropes, I noticed that when the kind of platforming section was being assembled, aside from the obvious Mario Maker, like that is like a level basically that was created and like designed, and so it naturally came together. Specifically, when they were placing those spitting fireball things, it looks
Mhm.
exactly the way it does in Super Mario Maker. The way they're kind of like moving around before they like go into their regular spin cycle.
Mhm.
Like that reminded me of that's what like cued me into like, oh, that's Super Mario Maker. Like that's what that's
Yeah.
supposed to be. That's what the reference is.
They're
At least I
literally
think it
making
was.
a level.
Yeah, like it literally making the level really quick.
There's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about in regards to just things that I noticed, references, kind of like how Gerardo had his thing. There is a little bit of history that I'm not sure many people know about the Chain Chomp that kind of
Okay.
tipped me off during the encounter with the dog
Oh,
that
I'm
they
so
have
excited.
on their first
Oh.
job.
Oh.
So the way that Miyamoto originally had envisioned the Chain Chomp enemy was because he had an encounter with a scary dog on the way to work or as a kid, I think. And one of these, this is like anecdotal evidence from one of the many interviews that he's had over the years. He said that the way that it was like attached to a leash, it was like stuck to a pole and snapping at him. And that's what gave him the future inspiration for Chain Chomp. And you know, in the movie there's this dog that, you know, that Luigi's scared of and harasses them in their first job, and I'm like, is that a reference? It might be.
I mean,
Uh,
Miyamoto is involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He
you
is
know,
heavily
it
involved.
snaps at them, it does the bark bark, you know, and there is a chain chomp later on in the movie, but I think that's more of a Miyamoto reference than a Mario reference, if you knew that about
Yeah.
Miyamoto.
Some real life lore. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool.
Because the Chain Chomp does do that same barking sound too. As the
Mhm.
dog does. It
Mhm.
sounds like that.
Yeah.
It's quite clearly meant to be a dog on the leash. And I think you only, if I recall, you only really see one instance of the Chain Chomp, and that's like when everybody's having a party at Bowser's castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not really an enemy you see. You might see it at the very end too, like during the star mode rush.
Yeah.
I could be wrong though. I'd have to remember. A lot of enemies were dying on screen.
Yeah. So like what I thought that Chain Chomp was supposed to be was specifically another Illumination film reference where they did this movie called The Life of Pets. The way that it's animated was a lot like The Life of Pets dogs. Like the way that the mouth moved and everything. It looked like almost human like the way that it's drawn, which is the way that they're drawn in The Life of Pets. And the way that it like interacted, like the kind of comedy was a lot like that too. That's why I thought maybe it's just because Illumination has really good experience. Like I think they're making a sequel too or something, or already did a sequel or something. So like maybe it's just because they have a lot of experience animating pets, like animating dogs specifically, that they felt comfortable like putting a dog in there. That might have even been one of the first scenes that they animated to get the animators used to the Mario's movement mechanics or something. But like specifically I noticed that. And that could just be self-promotion or not. And maybe Life of Pets is canon within Mario? Question mark?
Question mark?
I
There
tried
are
to
many
believe
universes
Miyamoto
out there.
theory.
God.
There's so many galaxies
okay,
out there in the world.
I talked about this with my fiance, and at first she disagreed with me, but that one scene where like Mario says like, "Oh, you're not from here," and then she just kind of like, or like, "Maybe you're from my world," and then she just kind of turns around. It's like there are many galaxies out there, and like,
yeah, it's hand waved away.
Why are you? Yeah, I was like, why are you like not talking to him? Like he's right there. Why? What is that dialogue? And it just ends. The scene just ends, and I'm like, dialogue wasn't their first choice with the budget, I guess.
Yeah, was that a
Somebody-
natural like thing to say? I don't know.
It didn't feel natural.
Somebody really wanted to put in a Super Mario Galaxy call in there.
And said, story aside, we're way aside.
I'm putting Super Mario Galaxy in this, guys.
And speaking of Peach, there's a point in the, I guess it's during the wedding, when things don't go Bowser's way and he launches the bonsai bill at the castle. I turned to Brad in the seat and I'm like, this is a Melee reference, right?
Yeah,
Because like
absolutely.
it's going into the castle like it does. Not
Oh.
can it come from the top in Melee? I remember
No,
it
in
going in
melee,
from the
Yeah.
in
side.
melee, yes, it does come from the top. It goes from
Yeah.
the top and it comes from the side, and then
Yeah.
it blows up the part of the castle. And
Mhm.
whether or not it's a direct reference, I choose to believe it's a reference. It's just too much of a coincidence for me not to believe.
Yeah, it's super cool.
They also had a bunch of characters, so like there was a Luma in there that might
Yeah.
call towards
Yeah.
a future of the Mario movie, because we know that there's going to be more Mario movies.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it's all but confirmed. There's a whole, Marvel, multiple different like end credit scenes. One of
Thanos
them
will
being
return. And
Thanos will return in the Super Avengers 64. Yoshi's showing up. So they only had like a small, like, little cameo of the Yoshi's running, which could also be a Melee reference too, if we really want to be if we
Picky
really
about
want to if we want to read into this.
It did really look like that to me.
Like the opening of Melee where all the Yoshis are like running down
Yeah.
and like that one Yoshi stops.
Yeah.
yeah,
and
it really looked
exactly.
like that.
I choose to believe these things.
So you were talking about how like Peach's origin story was kind of abandoned. That's one of the issues that I have with the movie, is that overall, like, there was just a lot of plot points. I think that Brad, your brother, pointed out more. Like, we're just kind
Yeah.
of like, they mentioned and then they were kind of hand waved away, or there was no follow through with. And Peach's origin story being one of them, because I thought that it was cool that we saw Princess Peach walking out of I think it was the same warp pipe. It was kind of hard
Yeah.
to tell. Or maybe I just need to watch the movie again to be able to tell. But I think it was the same warp pipe. So she was just in the sewers of New Donk City or whatever, and then like ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom. But like in the Mario lore, there like is a King Toadstool. Like, she has a dad. And he is in the Mario world.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty sure there was like a King Toadstool in like Super Mario Brothers 3. There was like a bunch of kings.
Yeah.
yeah. And like her dad was one of them. And so like where was I almost feel like they were setting something up, like some kind of larger story up. They never really followed through with it.
Well, there was actually a few times in the movies where they try setting something up, like a character drama or like an internal struggle, and they either like it falls flat on its face or they just ignore it entirely when it was brought up. They do that with a lot of the characters, besides like maybe Mario and Luigi with their like brotherliness, but they did it like with DK. Like, for some reason he had a struggle with his dad and it came out in like the inside the eel, but like they never really addressed it all too much. It's just, oh, it's resolved. Oh, that a boy.
And I thought that was kind of weird, because when they first meet Cranky Kong, like, Cranky is so like proud and confident in his son, and is like he's so proud and confident that he's like, no, there's no way you're gonna beat him. So like, you know what? I will entertain this idea just because I know that it's like not even a possibility that you'll.
In fact, I'll give you power ups just because
Yeah.
I'm so confident.
He
my
was
son.
so crazy confident in his son, just to like say that he's not proud of him or whatever. Like, what?
It makes no sense. Like, if anything, it would make more sense that because of Cranky Kong's proudness, it gets to Donkey Kong's head,
Yeah.
and that's his downfall, is that he's too proud of himself. Like, that would make more sense thematically in a movie.
Yeah, I think that would have been, I don't know. It was just like one of those weird things that I noticed that we mentioned earlier. Like, the movie almost does like a 180 on itself, just like the Mario platforming thing. Like, it's earlier it was fine, and then now all of a sudden it's like not fine. Like, you're not confident in your son and you're not good at platforming all of a sudden. I didn't fully understand that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear watching the movie that the story was the thing that took a backseat, including like the characters, like the relationship to themselves and the people around. I guess outside of like Mario and Luigi being brothers, because there was a few scenes, like I really appreciate the baby Mario and Luigi scene. It was cute. I enjoyed it, where like Luigi's looking back and thinking back on all the times Mario's like basically been like there to defend him. and he's just sad. Like, I enjoy those scenes, but they didn't really have that same impact with any of the other characters. Like, it's just more like oh, we'll introduce this and then just not talk about it again.
Maybe I just have other problems with Cranky Kong's character in the first place. But what did you guys think about the voice actor for Cranky Kong? And I guess his portrayal overall.
So it's really weird.
It wasn't what I would have expected. However, I haven't actually played Donkey Kong 64 or most of the later Donkey Kong games. So I don't have any comparison to make that with personally.
I can give you a voice actor to compare it to. The Houston from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
That's
like
Cranky.
He's cranky.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, that's what I would have expected. Like, just from the name, that's what I would have expected. So it did seem off to me, but I wasn't sure.
I do think he was probably the weakest link in terms of voice acting in the movie.
Yeah.
He wasn't not cranky, but he was more just like pompous or like overly confident or something.
Maybe also a little bit like over relaxed.
He sounded like a snobby lawyer who didn't want to deal with your case.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as like while we're on the topic of voice actors, I think a lot of people were worried about Chris Pratt, but I don't know about you guys, but like I didn't really think about Chris Pratt after he was like in the beginning. I was like, oh yeah, that's Chris Pratt's, and then I like immediately forgot, and then I was just watching a movie.
Yeah, I actually think he did a good job. Like, I think that whole opening scene where they're doing the commercial, like, that was Chris Pratt putting on his best Mario Italian accent, and it actually wasn't that bad. And even throughout the rest of the movie, he did have like that slight Brooklyn accent when it like toned it back down. And honestly, like, I think it was perfectly fine. And you know what? I'll even go beyond that. I think like a lot of the actors outside of Cranky, they were perfectly fine.
I would call it fine, and but in Mario's case, I wouldn't call it like super memorable. Like, I forgot that it was Chris Pratt. But coming out of the movie, he wasn't the one that I was like, oh man, that was such a great performance. It was probably Jack Black.
Yeah, Jack Black is the standout for sure. Whereas I did have issues with some of the other voice actors like Cranky Kong, or like I wasn't a huge fan of Anya Taylor-Joy. We already talked about that during the like everything we know about video, but like I just wasn't entirely sure where why they were changing Peach so much, but then I guess it was because of the Mario show. So fair enough. That's decent.
Yeah, and honestly, like especially with Super Mario Brothers 2, I'm like the whole plot of the movie essentially being like someone's gonna get kidnapped. Let's change it up and make it Luigi. Like, I'm okay with basically any of them getting kidnapped because they're all kind of out there for the adventure, and that's actually quite established even since Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess if you really want to like hit me in the head with lore, that was all a dream anyway, so it doesn't count. So I fair enough. But I mean, Peach has her own game as well, and she goes out and about in like the games. So it's not like she doesn't do things, and like she floats around, and they even did that in the movie as well, the little Peach float.
I will say though that watching it did feel more like I was watching a successor to the Mario show than like an adaptation of the game.
Yeah, that's true at points.
I will say they could have done a lot worse, I think, with Peach.
Oh yeah.
In both directions of the super over the top quote unquote girl boss type, and then also damsel in distress, and I think they found a good middle ground, and I'm really happy with Peach in this movie. Probably my favorite character next to Bowser.
No, absolutely. Although regarding Bowser, I do have the only thing, because for the most part, aside from Cranky and aside from actually basically just Cranky, I didn't really think about the voice actors too much. But with Bowser, during his singing moments, I was like, okay, well, this is definitely Jack Black, and it still sounded like Bowser until he went high. Once he hit high, I was like, okay, this Bowser should not be hitting this. Bowser is supposed to be like, Bowser is supposed to be low and grumbly, and it was not low, and there was like no grumbliness. It was just Jack Black.
It's just Jack Black popping off.
Yeah. So
It-
that
it-
took me out of it a little bit.
His voice was a bit higher in the Super Show. So
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mario.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Like yeah,
Not exactly,
yeah.
but that was pretty close.
it is grumbly, but it is high pitched. I
Yeah.
do remember
Okay, fair enough.
I think Bowser played Jack Black.
that. Yeah, that's another way of looking at it.
What did you guys think about Mario not liking mushrooms?
I hated it. I hated that
Yeah.
part so much. It made no sense to me, at least. I know it was like a joke for the movie, but like this is coming off of like also the Sonic movie making fun of Mario by having Sonic not like mushrooms. So maybe there's like some cross references going on over here that like
That
either way,
Mario
I-
also doesn't like them.
yeah, it's just a little weird. I get it. It was for a joke.
I'm a little in the neutral ground. Like, I initially don't like it, but I don't like mushrooms by themselves either. So I
Neither
kind of
do
like,
I.
I kind of
like
support
mushrooms.
him metaphorically. I like mushrooms on pizzas and on burgers. I don't like mushrooms by themselves.
No, I just eat them straight from the ground. They're good for you.
Weird.
I know you do.
Okay.
I do not mind it. I honestly forgot that was a thing. Until I guess you don't forget it until he's like forced to eat them over and over again when he's training. And yeah, I guess I just kind of it became a moot point in my mind after the time it was first brought up. I think it was more so for the kids out there to be like, hey, I'm relatable. I don't eat my vegetables either.
Yeah, I could see it being
Okay.
like a safe joke that like probably anyone could find funny, not
Yeah.
just like Mario fans.
It was kind of funny, like, cause like Mario and mushrooms like go hand in hand. So like,
Mhm.
I get it.
I actually think it would have been cool if he liked mushrooms but grew to hate them because he had to
Yeah.
try so often.
That makes
Oh
sense.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, I kind of throw it in the same territory as the part where Mario's trying to go through the warp pipes and he keeps coming out of the wrong warp pipe.
I mean, that's in the games. They do that a few times in a lot of the games where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, here's a bunch of even in the
Yeah.
Mario Party games, that's standard business.
Yeah.
It at least feels accurate. But like for the mushroom thing, I feel like to me, like my immediate thought was, oh, this is Illumination doing this, and this is them saying like that they don't really care about the Mario lore because they've already like betrayed a lot of the Mario lore anyway with like Princess Peach. But Mario not liking mushrooms, like Mario and mushrooms go hand in hand, and like to say that he
Yeah.
doesn't like mushrooms almost felt like a betrayal. It was a quick, just like kind of like really fast joke, but it kind of upset me a little bit, and I don't know. I'm not even that attached to Mario, but like I was just like thinking about that. I was like, oh, Illumination, no, just be accurate to the character. Even like at the Universal City Walk, or sorry, the Universal Studios Toads, what's it called? Cafe,
Cafe.
or
Toadstool
whatever.
Cafe.
Yeah.
Cafe.
Yeah, like there's a Mario mushroom burger. Like Mario and mushrooms. That's a thing. Like why make him
Yeah.
dislike more mushrooms in particular? It just that, I guess. I don't know.
Wait, what if they're going the other way about it from what you said earlier, where what if what they're doing this way is that Mario doesn't like mushrooms, but in the next movie they're gonna show that Mario's grown
He's
to
gonna
love
love mushrooms?
Yeah.
That would save
Well-
it. That would save it, yeah.
That would, at least within the self-contained story, it doesn't make much sense.
No, but you can acquire a taste.
Character growth in more than one way.
And it's him
'Cause he gets
becoming
bigger.
and it's him becoming
where's my
clever.
drums? Where's my drums?
but but like it's that would be him becoming Mario in a way. And so I think I can
Yeah.
appreciate that, yeah.
But they
Uh-huh.
have to do it. They got to do it. If they don't do it, then the point stands. I don't like it.
On the note of like what could the future of like Mario hold, with like hopefully him liking mushrooms and stuff like that, what would you guys want to see in like a potential sequel or something?
Okay, so here I'm gonna drop the theories.
Booze.
right. Okay, so this is what I want to have happen, and then what I kind of expect to have happen. I want there to be the next movie to be about Super Mario World, which is my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
It's gonna be Baby Bowser shows up and frees his dad, and in order to take over the Mushroom Kingdom, they are essentially going to go get some help or force help from the Yoshis. So they are going to capture all the Yoshis. And at the end credits, we saw the one last Yoshi was in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And that's going to set off Super Mario World. In that game, you have to go save all the Yoshis from Bowser. And in this one, you're going to take Yoshi, who's going to be a hatchling in Brooklyn, finds Mario and Luigi, and you have to go rescue all the Yoshis. And that's going to be Super Mario Brothers 2.
Interesting.
I had some other ideas about that too, because the Yoshi thing that you were just talking about, I feel like they also did a few hints at Galaxy, and Galaxy 2 specifically added Yoshi to its like core gameplay. So I was wondering if they might mix Mario World and Galaxy for the next movie.
Ooh, okay. So like take the Yoshis to new galaxies, and they're doing something with the Yoshis.
Yeah, and then also we haven't seen the Bowser children yet either. The
Koopa Kids.
Yeah, the Koopa Kids. So I could see them making them the main villains of the next movie.
Which would be a Super Mario World thing.
That makes sense because in Super Mario World, the environment kind of changes pretty significantly from like area to area. And that's similar to Mario Galaxy, where like each of the different areas are like almost self-contained worlds in a way. They're like self-contained like biomes, kind of.
Yeah.
So I could totally see them kind of mixing that together.
And they had plenty of references to galaxies with just the Luma being there, Peach's out of pocket. Galaxies in the sky.
No, definitely.
That Luma was like my favorite character in the movie.
I loved that Luma.
Yeah, that was actually like that was some pretty good comedy out of the Luma.
Just cheerfully dark.
Totally not from the Mario games, but like good job, I think.
I actually hear that Luma itself, they're a reference to other Illumination characters, because I forget who exactly brought it up, but I was watching a lot of kind of discussions like this that we're having on YouTube after seeing the movie, and a couple of people brought up the fact that Illumination always kind of has this dark, depressing character contrasted by like cute looks type of person.
It is a comedy that stands. So I like it.
For some reason, I now feel slightly dirty for liking that character.
It's okay.
I mean, hey, Illumination did do this movie, and if you like this movie, then you like Illumination, right? You like Illumination.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's at least one movie that you like from them.
I'm in the same boat where I've only seen Despicable Me 1. So like I don't want to assume that the other movies are bad. I just, I thought Despicable Me was pretty decent though.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah. Something that I would like to see is kind of some follow through with some of the dropped plot points, specifically Peach's backstory, because like there's a lot of commotion in the beginning about like Mario is another human. Oh my gosh. Like, what? There's another human around. And like it's kind of weird that Peach like knows knows the word human because she traveled to the Mushroom Kingdom as a child. So like what's the backstory there? Has she seen other humans before? She has some conflict with other humans. Like she knows what a human is. She comes from, in theory, the exact same warp pipe that Mario and not Luigi, but like that Mario came through. So is she from New Donk City, or is she from somewhere else in the universe, as she alluded to? Like, she's clearly not from the Mushroom Kingdom, because we see her enter the Mushroom Kingdom, and then they just kind of make her princess. Like, where does King Toadstool fit into that? Like, there's so many questions, and then they allude to Peach's backstory, and then never follow through with it. Like, it's just one big question mark. And so I would like to see some follow through.
I was gonna say, so this actually leads into the other theory that this is. So the one with Super Mario World, that's kind of what I expect. What I want to have happen, and this could tie in. So with like Peach's backstory, what I think they could do is make it be like, oh, she was split at birth and something happened that led her to the Mushroom Kingdom, while Daisy is her sister, goes to Sarasa Land, or what was it called? It's like
that was what it was called.
Sarasa Land. Yeah. And what I want to have happen, the fact that she knows that she's human is because she has like a remnant of like her sister. So she knows what a human should look like. Like she'll have like a picture or something. And I want the main bad guy of the next movie to be Wario and has something to do with stealing stuff from Daisy. And I want Wario to be the main bad guy, which also, if you know your Mario games, makes sense. Wario was a main bad guy in Super Mario Land 2. 6 golden coins.
Yeah, and Daisy was introduced in Super Mario Land 1.
So what I want Wario to be the main villain of the next movie.
What do you feel like the future holds for Nintendo cinema as a whole? I want to start this off by saying, like, I noticed that Kit and Krista, who used to work in Nintendo, like at Nintendo America marketing departments, like Kit was in charge of all Nintendo marketing for all of America and the English speaking world for like 7 years or something.
Wow.
And Krista also did some like marketing. Like between the two of them, they have like over 15 years experience. They also did the Nintendo Minute, like kind of podcast video thing that they used to do. There's a lot of credibility between them, like working at Nintendo for so long. And they mentioned that within Nintendo, they're definitely thinking about what the next thing is. And specifically, they're talking about like what the next rung of movies is, what the next rung of franchises is outside of Mario, because kind of Mario proved itself and they proved that they like have a really strong formula. They could go to like other studios or just Illumination or whatever else and say like, hey, this did better than like anything. any like a video game adaptation movie, any animated movie like in history. So we know that our like IP is worth movies. And they mentioned specifically Splatoon, Animal Crossing, and Fire Emblem.
I think out of those three, I think Fire Emblem probably has the biggest chance of that. That's not necessarily what I would want, but I think at least out of those three.
Fire Emblem already kind of has explored other media before, because there was a Fire Emblem TV show back in the day. And also Fire Emblem has ongoing manga. Like there's one right now going with Fire Emblem Engage. So like seeing Fire Emblem stuff in the future, like a Fire Emblem movie or TV show or anime or whatever, could be.
I would rather have an anime. An anime for Fire Emblem, I think, would work best for that series specifically.
Kind of a more serious toned anime in the same sense of like a Castlevania or something like that. I think would be super interesting. But
yeah,
like
probably not as bloody, but definitely there.
Yeah, maybe. But there's some other like TV shows in the past, like Mario used to have a TV show, like we mentioned, but then also Kirby and
Zelda.
Zelda had a TV show too. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So like
Zelda did.
They
remember it's smooching time.
And there
it was a segment in the Super Mario Super Show.
The Zelda was
cool. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. So yeah, like it's just, and like, there's also been manga, like Fire Emblem has.
Also, you can bring back my boy Captain Falcon. He's had an anime.
Oh, okay.
If you don't know that he's had an anime, so rebooting that, actually having F-Zero do something, that would be cool.
So yeah, there's a bunch of like just tertiary stuff that they have done in the past, like Mario and Fire Emblem and Kirby, but then also stuff that they've been doing recently, like the new Fire Emblem manga, and like Zelda had a manga not that long ago, and Splatoon has an ongoing manga currently that has to do with like the power of music and all of that. So like it'd be interesting to see where the like other media goes from here, maybe like TV shows or something like that. But more immediately, I think that they're thinking about what the next movie holds. And it's just interesting, like two former Nintendo employees that worked in marketing saying specifically Splatoon, Animal Crossing, and Fire Emblem. Like what would an Animal Crossing, I can kind of have some ideas about Splatoon because the lore is really deep. Like what would an Animal Crossing movie look like?
So
I feel actually there's been one already.
Oh,
whoa, really?
Actually, drop that lore.
Yes.
Here's the
actually. Actual Animal It's actual Animal Crossing movie for Wild World. I forget what year, but there was a Japanese theater only, I think, release. I think it's just called Animal Crossing, and it's about one of the characters, you play as the humans moving to the town and that's kind of what the movie's about. It's kind of loosely following what you would do in an Animal Crossing playthrough, I suppose.
I was gonna say, I feel like if there's like Animal Crossing movie, would probably be like the Winnie the Pooh movie. Like I feel like it'd be the very similar like feel to it.
Isabelle is the Heffalump.
It'll be something like that, where like, oh, we're building up this village, but like, oh, we're scared of something that's like stupid because we don't understand it, and it's just gonna be like red.
I think I could see them going with like an anime that's very like skit focused, anthology like, kind of like, I don't know, there's a lot of like anime spin-offs that are just like chibi characters and like short comedy clips. something like that. I could see that happening.
But like as far as like the like cinema goes, like obviously I think that we all have the expectation that a sequel to the Mario movie is coming.
Yeah.
Like most
Yeah,
likely from
definitely.
Illumination. But I
Yeah.
don't think that their partnership with Universal is over, because they are doing all the Super Mario worlds, or sorry, Super Nintendo worlds.
I
So-
would not be surprised if behind the scenes they have some 10-year contract to do, or even longer, 10, 15, 20-year contract to do
Mhm.
multiple movies and shows based off of Nintendo IP.
Yeah, I expect that there's something kind of beneath the surface kind of boiling like that, yeah. And I see specifically Illumination kind of taking the responsibility for that, if I had to guess. Not just in the like Mario, but I could totally see them, like I think that they have the talent to do something similar to Animal Crossing, for example. But I'm a little less sure about Fire Emblem and Splatoon. Like Splatoon, the like kind of skater punk culture of Splatoon, the more serious tones of Fire Emblem, I have some doubts with. Being said, Fire Emblem Engage was maybe a little bit more general consumer friendly, if that's the polite way to put it.
If you want to say put that even deeper, I would say Kirby and Animal Crossing out of those,
Kirby
in
definitely.
addition to, is probably the more marketable and less fun for a Nintendo fan, I think. But just as like a general, like this is appealing to young kids
It's
and
what
maybe
Illumination
older
would do.
people. Yeah,
Yeah,
They would definitely do a Kirby.
absolutely, yeah.
like as much fun as a Fire Emblem or a Metroid movie would be, that I think mass
Metroid.
market is a bit more of a thing they're going for at the moment.
If they were to do a Metroid movie, I don't know if anyone's seen the Buzz Lightyear movie.
Yes.
No,
No.
I haven't.
I don't like that movie, generally speaking. However, I do think that would make the best premise, generally speaking, for a Metroid movie.
You see, I want a Metroid movie in the same, like, to be a space, like, sci-fi horror movie in the same vein as Alien.
I agree.
I mean, that's when all the stars align and, we hit Steins Gate.
Yeah, they're
That's
not
the
gonna
best case
do it.
scenario.
They're not gonna.
They're
do
not
it.
going to do it. They're not ballsy enough to do that, but I would appreciate it.
No, it would be something more along the lines of Lightyear. It would be like a cartoony kind of more consumer friendly approach would be Metroid.
And Lightyear was still like, I'm not really going to say graphic. I would say it's a little bit more realistic and dark, at least in terms of Pixar Disney standards. So like even keeping it at that level, if Nintendo feels safe enough there, I still think would be better. Like it does fit the theme a little bit more with Metroid in that kind of regard.
I was gonna say, and if Illumination wants to do Kirby, like I said, they have that trope of cute character saying demented thing.
Oh, totally.
There's a perfect character called Marx from Kirby.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
That's literally the boss.
Yeah.
Kirby, anyways, has a kind of like weird dynamic where it's so cutesy and fun, and the Kirby character is like a big old round pink ball, right? Like it's so round, and round characters tend to be like the most consumer friendly, like child friendly characters. That's like a part of the reason why like just the characters in Despicable Me look the way
Yeah,
they
I
do.
think-
Like
Yeah.
Peru is the main character and is like a round ball too. So like
Uh-huh.
I think that Kirby like makes a lot of sense in that regard, but Kirby also has the capability to go really, really dark. It has like all of a sudden every Kirby game at the very end pulls a complete 180, and then you're facing this eldritch horror monster that looks something out of like H.P. Lovecraft. Like what?
All of a sudden, we're in Final Fantasy for the final boss.
Yeah, like you should
Yeah.
be censoring that thing. What are you doing with showing that in a Kirby game of all things? Like it's really shocking. So I could totally see them doing something kind of like comedically shocking in the same vein with that of that Luma character, like super fun and bright, and then all of a sudden like, oh my god, once you like
So,
you realize
okay.
it.
Okay, out there, third idea for a sequel to the Mario movie, you like literally just need to copy and paste Mario RPG.
Yeah. The secret final boss is like basically
Yeah,
just
the
a
secret
Final
final
Fantasy
boss.
villain.
Yeah,
Silence.
and then like now Bowser joins your team.
And then they all come together in the Subspace Emissary movie.
I mean, it's the one thing that Smash actually had in terms of a story. So I don't really include Smash Ultimate as like really a story. It's just a bunch of characters fighting a thing.
It's almost like the sequel to like Subspace Emissary, which was an actual story, World of Light, that is.
I will and my last recap or my last thought about this, I will defend what I say when I say that I think this is the best video game movie, specifically for like adaptation reasons and bringing the world to life reasons. I don't know of another franchise that did it better. Not necessarily for like movie story wise, like I get it. The Nintendo or the Mario movie didn't have the best story because they really didn't focus on it because Mario
Yeah.
games don't really have the best story.
Fair enough.
So at least in terms of that, is as faithful adaptation goes, I think this is the best video game movie to do it.
In terms of movies, I agree. I think like Sonic 1 and 2 are kind of close, but I feel like I have more complaints about aspects of those movies than with this one.
In terms of my overall feelings, it's really easy for me to say that it's an okay movie, but as a, I suppose, not entirely lifelong Mario fan, but just about lifelong, it was a movie that left me smiling pretty much the entire time watching it, and not many movies can do that.